collision with purpose, in pursuit of purpose.
Greetings, friends of the A Collision with Purpose movement. Welcome to Bridging Generations, Voices of Men in a Changing World. I am Dr. Laxley Stephenson. This groundbreaking podcast delves into the multifaceted experiences of men across different generations in an era where societal norms and expectations are rapidly evolving. This show offers young and older men a unique platform to voice their challenges, triumphs, and perspectives.
Hey, my name is Augusta Foster, one of your co-hosts. And what we look to do in each of these episodes is bridge the gap between generations and speak on every area of ranging possibilities and differences of men, from masculinity to careers to family, faith, and fatherhood.
I'm Xavier Willcox, also a host. By bringing together voices for varied age groups, the show sheds light on the commonalities and differences in the male experience, encouraging open dialogue and mutual learning.
And whether it's a teenager grappling with the pressures of social media or a senior reflecting on the changing definitions of manhood, Bridging Generations is committed to uncovering the real stories of men navigating the complexities of a changing world. I'm Juan Marcel, another co-host, and together we are your moderators for Bridging Generations, Voices of Men. Doc, what is going on this week?
Man, what is going on this week, last week, and next week is the question. All kinds of good stuff is happening. Great stuff. I'm so excited to have the four of us on again. Last week we missed you, Xavier. Missed you. You had a situation,
Yes,
but welcome back, my brother. It's not the same place without you.
No,
Happy to be here.
It's not the same place without you. So we have a full-packed evening tonight. We have two guests on, and you know, we've been dealing with this education and entrepreneurship. And why is it so important that we get these two big things under control? I'm going to ask you, Xavier, why is education and entrepreneurship so important?
The way this world's going today, I see it as you're going to have your education and another hustle to go on with it. Because as I just recently graduated from college, my degree means something, but without the experience, it means nothing, especially in the field that I went in with business. And so no one wants to hire a 22-year-old to be the manager of everybody right now. They want that 7 years of experience. So that's why with the entrepreneurship backing, you need to have something to fall back on. Not just in case if the education doesn't work out, but you still need to educate yourself so you can be better knowledge and more in depth with the work that you want to do.
And education is not necessarily academic education, is it?
No.
Right.
Extend way beyond that, right? So Juan, you're an educator and a business owner. You're an entrepreneur as well. Why is education and entrepreneurship so important, and why are they so connected?
I think, especially, we've been talking about shedding shackles, right? Just breaking those cycles, generational cycles, right? To better ourselves and better our communities. And I think the better educated we are, the stronger our businesses and our practices are. I've learned even through college, of course, but also through life, that education, a continuing education is important. Because life every day is different, right? And everything is constantly changing. So it's important that we are well informed, because it helps us to just also provides us with a blueprint, through education. We learn ways of others and just different practices and theologies and ideologies and philosophies and all these different things and how others became successful. So we're able to put those things into practice to help build our own philosophy of life or just our own practice and business. So education and entrepreneurship are definitely connected. It's like one informs the other.
Absolutely. They need each other, don't they? They need, and Xavier explain it so well, right?
Yeah.
You can have all these degrees, but without the experience that you gain through businesses and so forth, then what do you have? Augusta, what do you have to say about that piece?
I think if you're someone who could find a good median between the two, the sky is the limit. I grew up, my father was an entrepreneur for the majority of his now 70, almost 4 years of living. And from him being in my life, being a locksmith, contractor, plumber, him passing some of those skills down to me, I saw his ability to take his actual skills, things he learned with his hands, and go and make a living for himself and his family. And the same with my grandfather. On the flip side, my mother's got some traditional college education, some relatives who, doctorates, masters, etc. And I think if you're somebody who could find that good combination of traditional education, whether that be 4-year, 2-year, whatever, and that good blend of a vocational, old school, go get it after it attitude, get it with your hands, you can absolutely succeed. It just takes the dedication to do either thing.
Absolute dedication, commitment, and the willingness to go out there and do the practice, right? It's so important, right? It's one thing to say that I want this. It's another thing to go out there and do the work, right?
Yeah.
So critical. We made a commitment to each other and to our listeners, to our audience, that we're going to deal in something. So let's talk about the commitment. Let's get to who wants to go first.
I'll go first because I normally never go first. Normally we go Xavier or you. So I'm gonna lead this one. I think we might be on the rotation for me to go first. In regards to service, still committing to service, still volunteering time. Just recently signed up with work to take myself and about 30 co-workers out to go and volunteer at the downtown Atlanta Food Bank. So they're one of the multiple nonprofits that the corporation supports. So we'll be going out about 25 to 30 deep in the next 2 to 3 weeks and packaging meals for roughly 2,000 people. So very excited to go out there and just not just do it for networking or because it's work or it's company related, but to actually go out and be with people who are excited and committed to service, even at a corporate level. I'm always just amazed and thankful to be around people who want to serve. They want to lead, and you can't lead unless you're leading from the front.
Awesome. Leading from the front, gentlemen. You got to step up and do your due. Play your role, do your part. So Juan, we're going to leave Xavier for last this time. Because you guys are always picking an Xavier.
Yeah, man, y'all bullies.
Exactly. Being the youngest is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let them pick on you. Let them pick
I
on
can
you.
use all y'all senior discounts.
There you go.
Wow. Okay.
Just don't say that thing about the hair anymore.
Mark it down.
Hey,
Juan, mark down the day, Juan. Thursday, March 14th is when the jokes is flying now.
All right. So Juan, talk to us, please.
Well, two things. I will say I share with Dr. Stephenson that the interview that I was telling you about, that I was the article that was written up about me in Bold Journey magazine was published. Shared it with Dr. Stephenson. I'm excited about that. It was blew my mind. It's something to be excited about, something new. And then secondly, we're still working on our lock-in that is coming up next month. We also started the Tie Tuesday with the young men dressing up and just wearing ties, teaching them how to tie ties and just be presentable. My message is always making yourself marketable in whatever arena or setting that you're in, being versatile. So that's underway. Excited about that. So looking forward to it.
I'm so proud of you, man. I did share it. I know, Xavier, you saw the article.
Yeah, it was
shared
awesome.
I shared it with so many people, and let's continue to share that article.
I appreciate that.
Big deal. Let's continue to share it. Let's share it. And so I'll go before Xavier, as I promised. He'll be the last one up. So then Monday we had in the spotlight. We had our program, and we satisfied a full scholarship just from that program. And my commitment is to build out a scholarship program for underserved youth all over the place. And now we're focusing on Kenya. And I am proud to say that we received a full scholarship, $900, to pay for 1 year's worth of attending school. We're in school in Kenya. Young lady's name was Elizabeth. They had kicked her out of school because she couldn't pay. Now she's back in school. And on top of that, I received enough donation same day to purchase books. Because what I've discovered is that it's one thing to pay the fees to go to school, but guess what? They also need books.
Books.
They need the material, the resources. Yeah.
Need the materials. Now, still need some money for that. Still need some funds for that. We're a bit short. We need a few more $100 to take care of the books for all these students. So far, I believe we have 4 full scholarships. We have, it's working. It's going on. And look, there's another student that just popped up on our radar. She's 9 years old. She's attending boarding school. We're looking to find $500. So by this show next Monday, $900 for her full scholarship. By this show next Monday, I'm hoping that will be a done deal. In fact, when we go in the spotlight show with my guest host, Donna Thompson, we're hoping to make an announcement next Monday. So feeling good about that. Things are happening in a good way. And I also want to add that with my books, A Collision with Purpose, In Pursuit of, and Hurting You, each copy bought at our website, and you'll donate $5 towards a scholarship fund. All right. So let's keep buying those books, not just because we want to sell them, but because we want to fund scholarships for students. All right. Of course, we want to sell them as well. However, Donna, if you can, or producer, and sometimes host on the other show, she functions in capacity. We can't do without her.
Jack of all trades.
She's behind the scene working this one, so we have what we need to have to present. So all the switching and stuff going on, Donna is behind it. And so, Xavier, I'm going to turn it over to you, man.
And I wish I had a better week than y'all, but
we're all ears, young man. We're all ears.
So my goal was to say no and to focus on myself. Last week I had finished my study that I was talking about. And so this week I'm starting my fitness journey to get back better with my own physical health and stuff like that, because I used to play sports. I used to run track, but then I got into a car accident, so got a little beer belly now. So I'm trying to get that back off and get my abs back and stuff like that. But the overall, the Bible study that I was doing myself, it was definitely an eye opener. It helped me understand more of why I see things the way that I do. I definitely recommend you guys to go on the Bible app and just pick out a plan on there. Just type in whatever you're feeling like. They got some really good stuff on there. But yeah, so that's what my goal is. I'm gonna start posting stuff on Facebook so you guys can see and keep me accountable so I can get my swole on or something like that. But I'm not gonna post it exactly when I'm at the gym. So yeah, don't want to run into the wrong people at the gym.
I like the way you slid that the fact that you have a beer belly in there. I was like, I just saw you. I just saw you.
I had like 4 t-shirts on under there, man.
I just saw
You didn't see
you. We have
the
video
beer.
of
You
you.
didn't see the beer in his belly, right?
Yeah. What beer? Root beer?
I'm a little more pudgier than what I want to be. Let's say it like that.
Okay. Well, you keep doing that. We'll follow you. How about that?
Yeah.
We'll try to keep pace with you. Yeah. So, guys, good things are happening. You're doing it. One big stuff you did, and we can keep sharing that because when we have good information, we want to spread it.
That's awesome.
We want to spread. That bad stuff get out there and just take on energy and just spread.
Yes.
Do the same thing with good stuff. Let's do the same thing and spread good energy, right? Good stuff, good information. We have 2 gentlemen backstage, and we're going to bring them on after the break. And I promise you, what they have to share with us tonight and with our listeners, with our guests out there, will be so powerful. We're going to talk a little bit about education. We're going to talk about businesses, entrepreneurship, and how important it is. And they're going to share their stories with us, all right? So, but before we go, Xavier wants to add something that is happening in the news right now that can affect us. Xavier, you want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah. So the Flint, Michigan crisis, this was something that's been going on for at least a decade now. The headline is Flint, Michigan held in contempt by federal judge missing deadlines to replace lead pipes at center of water crisis. That honestly, that kind of just makes me sad. Like, we've been going on for this about 10 years or so. I honestly forgot about it because I honestly thought it was already handled and stuff like that. But to see a group of people going through this situation and the actual city doesn't want to do anything to help it, it just, yeah.
To recall, if I'm correct, she's on a number of social media platforms. I forget the young lady's name, but initially she was referred to as Little Miss Flint. For context, for anyone watching, Little Miss Flint at the time, I believe, was around 9 or 10 years old, maybe. I believe she's now a junior or senior in high school. So this is a young woman who has spent the majority of her life in the confines of a city. One of the cities that at one point was, my family in Toledo, Ohio. Flint at one point was one of the most booming towns in the United States of America due to it being adjacent to Detroit. This was a powerful town. This was great for middle-class Americans, specifically Black and immigrant white Americans who worked these plants and factories, Westinghouse, Ball Glass, Ford, Dodge, GM. And now to see it reduced to one of the most famous people in your town spending her majority of her life without clean water, you would, this isn't a headline you expect from the greatest country in the world. You expect this from a third world country. So it really shows where we need to get better and where we need to hold our politicians accountable when we cast those votes and when you put that ballot in.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you say that we need to become more involved. Are we speaking up? Are we saying what is on our mind? Are we may not be running for political office, but we have a say.
Right.
We have a say. And we need to speak up And if it's even just to say it to your friends, your neighbors, and whatever is on your mind, if you're not in agreement, if you see things happening out there that is not aligned with what is in your best interest, what is in the best interest of your family, your friends, speak up. Put it out there. Put it out there. As we said earlier with Juan, bad information is taken off. If you say it enough and it builds energy and momentum, someone will hear it. So let's not be afraid to say what is on your mind. Speak up, speak up, speak up. You may not have a voice at that table where they're making the decision, but you can influence the decision from right where you're sitting. And again, that is another reason why we have Bridging Generations, voices of men in a changing world. That's exactly why we have this. So we're here to bring in the information. Let's talk about it. Let's speak up. So I encourage our listeners, anyone watching, speak up. Let's not lay there dormant still as if it doesn't matter, because it is important. And they say if it's important, act like it is. And that's what you should do, speak up. All right, so I think it's a good time to take a break. And then when we come back, we'll bring on Mr. Richard Carroll and Mr. Omar Malcolm. So let's take a break. Donna, can you take us?
A collision with purpose, in pursuit of purpose.
Right, welcome back. Voices of Men, and we have two such voices on today that's going to join us. So I'm going to ask Xavier, can you bring on, but not before the drum roll. Let's get the drum roll. Can you bring on our guests?
All right, so I'd like to bring on a friend of mine who's been very wise, been an entrepreneur from the age of 13. Really genuine guy. We've been teammates together. We played the same position at KCU, and awesome guy. I'm going to let him do a little bit more explaining of who he is because he can tell it 10,000 times better than I can. I'm going to bring on Mr. Richard Carroll.
Let's do the roll. There he is.
Welcome. Well, first I want to say thank you, Xavier, for allowing me on y'all platform. Dr. Stephenson, Juan, Augusta, appreciate y'all for having me. So my name is Richard Carroll, founder and CEO of Wealthy Made Investments, and our main goal is to be able to incorporate financial liberation. We want to be able to bring true wealth, talking about real estate, cryptocurrency, stocks, and true entrepreneurship. So I'm just excited to be a part of what we're doing here today. You want me kind of just go into education, or what you want me to go to?
No, we'll go into it. Let's bring on the other guests, and you get a chance to go back and just roll it out for us. So you're talking about money, and you're talking about about how we can empower. That's the one thing we need in our community, right?
Yes,
So,
sir.
in bringing on our next guest, I am gonna play a video. Right? So, Donna, you want to hit the video? You
Greetings. My name is Omar Malcolm. I'm a real estate professional in South Florida, and I'd like to give my 2 cents on the topic of purpose. In real estate, we use the term highest and best use, which simply describes how a property can be assembled or used to attain its highest possible value. I look at purpose of individuals in the same exact fashion. So what are you doing day by day, hour by hour to improve your value? Except we're not talking monetary value, but what value are you providing to those closest to you? Friends, family, loved ones, those who may be looking up to you, those who can be positively impacted by your legacy long after we're through here. And most importantly, what value are you bringing to the betterment of the world around you? So I believe when you move through life with that, in your mind, heart, and soul, your journey may still take you, place to place, but your North Star becomes clearer and clearer. And I think it's for everybody to find out what that is for them.
It's awesome. All right, folks. Let us give a drum roll. Let's do the drum roll for Omar. I know he's already here. Right, Omar, welcome.
Good evening. Thank you for the beautiful introduction. Omar Malcolm, South Florida realtor, focusing Fort Lauderdale and West Palm Beach areas, working with sellers and buyers, both end users and investors alike, and love to do what I do and love where I do it.
Wow. It's that purpose, huh?
That's right. And it's an absolute pleasure to be here with you guys and chat.
Awesome. So Richard, you started to take a deep dive into your stuff. So let's continue that conversation you were just having with us. Tell us what you do, share with us, and tie it into how it can be beneficial to our listeners, to our audience, and especially to these young Black men out there.
Most definitely. I'll start talking about education first. So here in Houston, I actually have a partnership with HISD in Fort Bend, HISD being the 3rd largest district here in the United States. So we have a program by the name of the Modern Day Financial Liberation Program. So what we teach the youth is college readiness and financial literacy, coaching, and mindset development. And I truly believe for everyone, right, not only the Black community, but everyone, we should truly understand the foundation of financial literacy because, we talk about so many different things that's going on in the world when it comes to, minimum wage, loss of jobs, AI taking over so many jobs, people are getting laid off. And the reality is, there are a lot of jobs that's not available anymore. But there are multiple things that we can actually do to be able to accumulate the amount of streams of income that we can obtain. But we have to be able to go and find the information. The information is there, it's free. It's a thing called YouTube that we use for a lot of things, and we should be utilizing it for our own education. So we should take advantage of that for sure.
YouTube been around for a while, huh?
Yes, sir.
And still a secret. So many. Isn't that something?
Yes.
When all the information is there, it's still a secret. So let's hear from Omar. Omar, tell us about what you do, your path, how you end up where you are right now. How did you get there?
Yes, certainly. So, coming up, I had an education, went to college, went to university. But I always kind of had entrepreneurship tugging on me. Even after I finished up with school, I was working a 9-to-5 job. I always had, little side hustles going on. At one point I had left and completely just dove right into entrepreneurship as a personal trainer, actually, originally. And it was very clear to me, even from then, that my skill set and just my overall disposition was better suited for that world. However, kind of going back to what we were talking about before, that combination of the education and the entrepreneurship, having my educational base allowed me to be in a lot of environments where I was able to learn how to be a professional and really sharpen myself in a number of ways as I was going forward with my entrepreneurial path. I reached a certain breaking point where I'd actually decided I was going to move across the country. I was going to Florida. And that's when I really started my path in real estate. And I think this is a really common theme for anybody who goes the entrepreneurial route, is that at some point you just have to jump. And that was my moment of jumping. And, one of the biggest things too is, like we said before, education isn't necessarily just in the classroom. I think when I came down here to Florida, that's when a lot of my, education really started. And by means of getting around the best possible people, people who are proven in whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. And I got a lot of my education that way. It's still till today something that I do, seeking mentorship, something that I've noticed a lot of the most successful people, they never stop that process of learning. So I think both of those things, the education and the entrepreneurship, they both go hand in hand, very important.
It's a perfect marriage, huh? It's that marriage. Omar, I will have our other hosts will have an opportunity to ask some questions. Do you recall maybe about 10, 12 plus years ago when we used to have those meetings?
Yes, certainly.
Sunday?
Yeah.
Every single Sunday, we would have meetings. Can you share? Because I think if more of us are still doing something like that, that would be so powerful. So can you share what those meetings was about?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was covering a lot of the same stuff that we're discussing today, just entrepreneurship in general. And even going back a little bit further from where I just started my timeline, frankly, that's probably where a lot of that entrepreneurial, interest sparked in me, was during those meetings. We went over like E-Myth, huge, very popular business book. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with. That's something that we dissected, and a lot of those fundamental lessons, we discussed, and I found that so beneficial at that early age. And what comes to my mind right away is just exposure, right? And that's something that limits a lot of people from going down certain avenues, is just the lack of exposure. So from a young age, going through those meetings and, hearing some of the conversations, learning about entrepreneurship and understanding some of these principles definitely helped set the stage for a lot of the decisions that I've made thereafter.
So what happened is every Sunday I would have Omar, my nephew Omar, and all my nephews, and we would have meetings, business meetings, right? But I don't. How old are you then? I don't even remember.
Maybe 14, 15 at the oldest.
So we would have business meetings every Sunday, and I would give them this book that they had to read and bring back to me, Entrepreneurial Myth. And we would go through the different things in these books. So, and the whole idea was to expose them at an early age about business opportunities. And that's what we did. And then at one point, I had all of them travel from wherever they were to come to my house, and we would have a meeting in Atlanta. So creating that exposure, it's powerful. It's powerful. And the more of us, this is something that we should still be doing, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Each of us on this platform can do that with some young folks coming up. So we did that, and Omar, you always tell me that made such a huge difference in your life. And I believe it because I see the results. And I'm saying that to say, just to put it out there, we need to do more of that. All right, so let's open the floor. So Augusta, Juan, Xavier, if you have any specific questions you'd like to ask our guests, please do so.
Absolutely. Well, real quick, Omar, you said you took a leap or you jumped across, because where are you originally from? Before Florida, where you from?
Originally from upstate New York.
Gotcha. Okay. But the follow-up question is just this for both of you. I always ask people about their why. What's your why that just keeps you going? What led you to do what you're doing now, and what keeps you when sometimes it just gets rough, gets challenging, frustrating, whatever it is? Like what's your why?
Or Richard?
Either one. Rich, Omar, either one.
You got it, Omar.
Yeah, well, I mean, just diving right in. I mean, obviously, we have so many great opportunities around us. Here in the U.S., not a perfect country, but we definitely still do have a lot of great opportunities. So making use of it, being born during this era where we were born, I think it's something that we all have to take full advantage of. even though we do have certain obstacles that are inherent, in society, when you open up your eyes to the, things that we do have at our hands, that we do have in control, I think it's very important that we don't let that go by the wayside. And going back to, being born when we were born, all the technology that we have at our hands, being an entrepreneur during this era has to be one of the most exciting things. Some of the tools that we have, AI, the amount of advancement that wasn't here a very short time ago. We have to look at the tools that we have and the blessings that are right in front of us. But even expanding on that, as far as a bigger purpose, I mean, we also have a commitment to our last name, our family, the folks who are going to come after us, like I mentioned in that video. I mean, that's a huge why. If any of us have children as well, people really looking up to us. I think we really have a duty to maximize all the opportunities that we have at our hands. And that really keeps me going every day.
What a why. What a powerful why. So, Richard, can you address that question, your why?
Most definitely. I would say my family. I'm the oldest of four. I have two brothers and a sister, and I have, both parents. So, they always raised us the right way. And I always told them, I said, y'all work hard, y'all work long hours, but I want to put myself in a position, right, to not only lead and be a leader for them, but be a leader for my siblings so that we can free them. And then on the other side, the bigger reason, of course, God. We serve a God that is not limited. We serve a God that is all doing. So he has allowed us to have access to all his information, like Omar was referring to. But when it comes to my purpose in educating, it's because decentralization and blockchain in itself. There's a major wealth gap that takes place between minorities, right? And then the 1%. The 1% of those different groups, right? I'm not going to name the groups, but there's $1 trillion wealth gap. Now we have access to a platform called cryptocurrency, right? Where literally decentralizations, it eliminates the middleman, which is the banks. We don't have to worry about how much money can we accumulate and being able to obtain a certain limit of credit, trying to obtain a credit limit from the bank if they're going to approve us or not in regard to documents or non-doc approvals. We're talking about a platform where I was able to invest all my savings, right? When I got to high school, when I was 17, my senior year, I put $2,500 into Bitcoin, but I was investing in small increments, but $2,500. And at the time, Bitcoin was only at $1,000, right? So now it's at 72,000. So over the years, I've been able to educate and create this platform that not only the general public have access to, but now the youth, and the youth are able to understand this information. So the purpose in itself is focused on the youth, because if we change the narrative and the focus, right, we can change the trajectory on what the kids are learning at an early age.
I have two things to say, right? When the IRS is getting involved, you got a good thing going, right? When they touch in cryptocurrency, right, when you get more accountable, so you got a good thing going with that. But just on this platform, it brings me so much pleasure. And I have evidence that we're in a good place. When we have men like Richard, like Omar, like Xavier, like Juan, like Augusta, we're looking good, aren't we?
Oh, yeah.
We're looking good. We're in a good place. We're looking great. And I just wanted to say that because as I'm listening to, I'm a little bit older than you guys, of course, but as I'm listening to the conversation, as how you articulate your positions and things, I know that we are in a good shape. We have leaders in our communities, and all I will say is I'm encouraging each of you to go out there and build more leaders like yourself. That is a commitment I would like to see Omar, Richard, Augusta, Juan, and Xavier take on. Just go out there and build more leaders in our communities, and we will be okay, no matter what. So let's move the conversation along. Augusta, I know you like to ask questions.
Oh yeah, I've quick question. I think it'll apply to both. First off, to Brother Richard, salute to the Buffs. Salute to the Buffs. I see you. Outside of that, for both of you in your respective fields, one kind of leaning more towards real estate and direct front-facing business and marketing, even marketing yourself to be able to sell homes and doing that business. To Richard, a lot of marketing involved in yours. Now, I'm pretty sure both of you appeal to an array of clientele, but specifically when it comes to approaching your business and the strategy, what are the hurdles you've seen of being successful or even educating your folk that look like you?
You good, Omar?
I'll let you take it. Yeah.
I knew both of you were kind of delayed like that. It was I don't want to be
Okay.
disrespectful. I saw it on both of y'all. Like I don't.
Yeah.
My mom.
No.
Both of you had my mama watching face. Like.
And no, of course, it's all about transparency. We have to be transparent in order for change to take place. What I would say in regard to our people, lack of information and assumptions based upon social media. And the reason I say that because the one thing that is highly led is this thing called trending. Whatever we see trending, somebody can post right now. Somebody can say, the Voices of Man was talking about racism from the 1800s. Somebody believe it, but they've never seen they never watched the live or nothing. So what I would say is the lack of information. Also, some individuals don't have access to the information, right? There are a lot of communities who are not aware, right? So when you're talking about generations who have not been exposed to this information, it is very difficult for them to be able to just walk into a space and adapt to talk about real estate. It's kind of difficult for them to understand credit. It's difficult for them to understand what entrepreneurship is as a whole if they've never seen it. So I think the narrative in itself will have to be switched with us being leaders. And like Dr. Stephenson said, we have to go about creating more leaders so that our kids will have access to the information that we're talking about.
Cool story.
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback off of you, I agree with everything you said. I do think in the youth coming up, there is a growing segment of, especially with how much information is out there on social media, it's Instagram, TikTok, all the more exciting apps where the youth are more heavily involved. I feel like you do have more youth that are becoming a lot more excited in the allure of entrepreneurship and real estate. So I do think there is a lot of attention there. So, being that the attention is there right now, as leaders, people who can get out there and really connect with the youth, whether it be, through social or in the communities, I do think that the interest is there.
Definitely. So, Xavier, I know you're a man of many words and a big broad smile. So let's what kind of questions do you have?
So I kind of want to know what was like the moment when, like, for both of you, when you guys could pat yourself on the back and say, I'm pretty good at what I do. What was like your confirmation that you were in your calling?
A part of, I think, what keeps you sharp is kind of having it in the back, at least for myself. Maybe it's a personal thing, perhaps even a flaw, but kind of always having in my head that I still need to keep getting better. So there's always that little chip on my shoulder. But when you do start getting the consistent feedback from the consumers, people around you, it could even be that random comment from somebody in your personal network. Oh, I saw that video that you made that I loved, and you start hearing those consistent comments. A lot of people are giving you the same feedback. Eventually, when you start hearing the same thing from multiple people, like, wow, I am actually okay at what I do. But balancing that with I guess staying humble, if you will. I don't even like using that word too much. But realizing that, okay, I am good. I'm getting traction, but we have to continue pushing the levels up. So sometimes I try to put the noise blockers on when I'm getting too many compliments. But yeah, that's where it comes from. The positive feedback from the customers, the people that you seek out to serve.
I would most definitely agree with you 1,000,000,000%, Omar. I would say the people in general. I would say for me that one thing. I would say in 2021, after just putting in hard work, not knowing where everything is going to go, because at this time I'm solely just investing in myself, right? So in 2021, when I graduated from KCU, I stepped into this lane of education. Let's start educating our people. And a company by the name of Earn Your Leisure reached out to me. Are you guys familiar with Earn Your Leisure? So they reached out to me, and 19 Keys, my brothers, him 500, they actually invited me to the fest called Invest Fest, one of the largest, Black entrepreneurship platforms, and we had around 20,000 people. And when that took place, God, He really spoke to me. He said, the Bible says, much is given, much is required. Those who humble themselves, you shall be exalted. And you always have to be a pupil of the game no matter what. So in 2021, I took it upon myself to go to the books, teach myself more, learn more things that I don't know. I created an entire list. I didn't even focus on things that I knew because there's no point of focusing on that, right? So I focused on things I didn't know, and I just kept pushing. And when Invest Fest came around, and when I was able to get on that stage and I was confident, right? I'm like you, Omar, humble. I don't like saying that word. Deion Sanders said something special. He said, don't allow my confidence bring out your insecurities, because when people say humble, sometimes they devalue themselves and not really bringing out the reality of who they are, right? We believe in God. We have faith in Him, but we don't have faith in the gift that God gave us. So at that moment, I knew it was my purpose.
Wow.
That's impressive. I was just thinking about how this quote that I always say this quote, I try to live by it, but Dr. Maya Angelou said, when you learn, teach, when you get, give. And just listening to both of you, that sounds exactly how you guys model your life. Like you said, Richard, you went and you read, and gained more information. So you were able to sit there, like you said, confidently, and educate. And I think that's the biggest thing. We've been talking the past couple of weeks, shedding shackles. We almost kind of touched on it, in you all's introduction, about just breaking these cycles, these generational cycles that we've been in when it's come to finance, and just the lack of information, just the restrictions that our community has had. So just seeing, both of you all in your industry just thriving, right, and having a heart to serve and still serve your communities. You educating, and you're also equipping these folks. I live by three, core values: educate, equip, and empower. And everything that you all are doing is leaving them empowered. I feel like now, if I was to sit with either one of you, I would feel empowered at the end of the conversation, just that time with you, because I believe now that it's possible just from watching YouTube. And what I think what struck an interest, I was reading some information just on the percentages of Gen Zers that are interested in or more likely to go into entrepreneurship. And they're looking, Gen Zers, of course, with the ages, 11 to 26, 17 to 26. And it said 66% of teens now are more likely or interested in going into entrepreneurship than working a traditional job. So in this time now, you're absolutely right. We're educating ourselves because there are, youth and young adults out there who are thirsty and hungry and wanting to know how to better themselves, but not in the traditional way. Have either one of you just noticed like this increase in young folks just going after, these business ownership, and just wanting to, whether it's conferences, investment groups, and all these different things? Have you guys noticed an increase in the interest of young people in this industry of real estate, finance, investments, and stuff like that?
Yeah, I've definitely noticed an increase. And, I've touched on it a bit before, just this overall allure of entrepreneurship and real estate, right? And you see it all over social media, especially with real estate. It's something that, is very attractive, if you will. So many folks used to watching the HGTV. So it easily pulls a lot of people in, right? And yeah, I think, now's a time where you could really capture the youth's attention, just because of some of the tools that we have. Being able to go all in on entrepreneurship is just far more possible today than perhaps it was 25, 30 years ago. It's more practical for a teenager to say, I think, I'm going to be a full-time entrepreneur. This is what I'm going to do. That's a way more practical thing today, I think, than it was 30 years ago. I think perhaps Dr. Stephenson could speak on that a little bit more. I just think we have a lot more tools today, so it's a lot more of a reasonable route for the youth. So, like I was saying, us as leaders, if we can really get in front of these kids, whether it's on social media, spreading good information, if you have the opportunity to get involved in the community, I think now's a great window to do so. I think also too, as leaders, really talking about the realities of entrepreneurship to kids. Because I think it's a sticky trap, right? It looks, sexy, if you will. But I mean, the reality is not everybody is cut out for entrepreneurship. You find so much negative talk, people, talking down on, going the traditional education route, getting a good 9-to-5 job. And while there's substance to some of those conversations, I think it could potentially, if youth aren't guided properly, can get a very bad understanding of what the realities of entrepreneur really looks like. It's ugly, it's gritty, it's fail, 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 fail until eventually you get a win. And not everybody's cut out for that, So I do think it really takes leaders to have a true, honest conversation and make sure that we're guiding whoever's, looking to us for advice. We're guiding them in the right way.
Let's hear from Richard, and I have something I want to say after Richard's addressed the question.
That's actually powerful, Omar. The reality of what it looks like being an entrepreneur. You have low days, you have high days, you have days where nothing takes place, right? You're sitting down and you're writing down your vision. And our motto is visionary manifest dreams. And I really believe that, a lot of things that I'm seeing right now with individuals in Gen Z, are a little bit younger than me, transitioning into college or after graduating college. I see a lot of people kind of going the educational route and then also taking on the entrepreneurial route as well. So you can have that balance, because now you're putting yourself ahead of the game, right? You have the degree, you also have the experience. But what I would say in regard to the question, of course, TikTok. We see it every day. We have 11-year-olds, 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds making millions of dollars based upon them creating a dialogue and understanding algorithms within these platforms. Yeah. They learn how to capitalize on social media. Therefore, the information is there. So when I hear people saying this is no bash or no hammer, axe throwing hammer to anybody. But, when people say, I don't have any money or I don't know what to do. Well, you don't know what to do because you're choosing not to. So I see too many young individuals winning, and it's only going to get bigger. So we just got to keep putting this information out there so the people who are hearing this for the first time, they will know what to do after this call.
Yeah. Yes. So I just want to add a little bit about innovation, about technology, AI. So people in my age group, some a little bit younger or older, there seems to be a thing about technology that they're backing away, shying away from. And I think that is a mistake. I think there's an opportunity for every single person on this earth to use technology to advance whatever initiatives they're working on. Yeah. And too many are saying, I'm not touching it, I'm not using it, it's not for me. Guess what? It is here to stay, and it's nothing new. AI is nothing new. It was Richard that talked about Google earlier and YouTube. It's all artificial intelligence, right? At work. So all these tools, it's just the way they package it now, and they have this name, artificial intelligence. If you use Grammarly, it's AI. It's been around, right? We used it in school. In fact, we use it in school. So get used to this notion of AI. It's nothing new. It's been here. It's just more advanced. And guess what? It's going to even become more advanced. So instead of working against something that you cannot beat, you can conquer, align yourself with it and get the best use you can get to advance your personal initiatives, your business initiatives. So that's what I want to add. And Omar, you said it earlier, entrepreneurship. It's not for everyone, but I believe it is also, right? It's not for everyone in the sense that maybe you don't have to do it full time. You don't have to totally depend on it. But you should also seek out opportunities where you can become the captain of your own ship, right? So there are so many part-time entrepreneurial opportunities out there. One of the fears a lot of individuals have about being an entrepreneur is there's no guarantee check, and we know that very well, right? I've been a entrepreneur since 1996. I've not had a job, so to speak. So I sort of understand a little bit, and not knowing when that check is coming. If you're not cut out right, it can drive you crazy, right? Because it's never a done deal until it's a done deal. And Omar, you know what I'm talking about. With the real estate thing, it's never closed until it's closed,
That's right.
until that lady sing, right? So understand that even if you're not pursuing entrepreneurship as your main gig, still find opportunities to provide a service that is needed, that is in demand. And there's so many opportunities out there to do just that. So entrepreneurship is not for everyone, but it's for everyone. It's all about perspective and how you apply yourself to the term and to the concept. So that's just what I wanted to say. That
Right. I can't agree with you more, and I'm glad you built on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
100%.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I ask this question to our guest? Is there a formula for successful entrepreneurship? Is there a formula to it?
Consistency.
Yeah, I'd say. I mean, consistency is definitely at the top of the list there. Not quitting. That kind of goes hand in hand. Not being and I touched on it before, but not being afraid to fail. You have to. I wish I could give credit to the person who I heard this term from, but failing forward, right, and failing fast. All those lessons as you move forward. That's what's going to develop you. And one thing I've realized in a lot of industries, when you look at a lot of the folks who are at the top of the industries, I can speak for real estate. I'm sure a lot of different practices too. One of the common denominators for the folks who are right at the top is that they surpassed their peers. They just didn't quit. They gave themselves the opportunity to keep going, to keep learning through their experience, through their failures and successes, and eventually they reach the pinnacle of their field. So just having the power to stick through whatever it is that you're after.
And to kind of pick up off that, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
To pick up off what you said, Omar, Les Brown, and I have this written on my computer. I have written on my wall. I have this printed on my refrigerator. OQP, only quality people. See, a lot of times people tend not to understand the reality of what it looks like to be able to move and grow past your peers. People will have a negative notation towards you surpassing the people that you once were around. They're going to say, well, you're not coming back to the community. Well, I am, but you didn't hear the information when I was there. They're going to say, you think you're better than more, you think you're better than us. No, but you're still doing the same thing. They're going to say, you're never going to achieve anything, but once you achieve something, they want a discount. So what I would say, surround yourself with the right people. 2021, right? And I'm grateful. I thank God that I was able to surround myself with people like Earn Your Leisure, Troy Rashad, 19 Keys. That's my mentor. Jamal Muhammad, he's really my mentor. And it's a blessing that he was able to bring me in his circle. And for the people, I want you to understand, when you get around mentors, you're not only taking down notes, but you have to apply these things. And when you apply them, every time that you fail at trying to accomplish what your mentor told you 100%, keep going, get up. Because every time you fall, you have to stand back up. Because another thing Les Brown said, he said, if you don't get up, you're going to go to the grave with so many different ideas. He said, you want to go to the most successful place in the world? He said, go to a graveyard.
Yep.
You're going to see so many different things. So my question to you guys who are listening on this call, are you going to go to the grave with all your ideas, all your visions? Remember, visionary manifest dreams. So envision every dreams in order to manifest so your dreams can come true.
That's good.
And we're going to take a break. But before we go to break, I want to say one thing. That true failure is not trying, not jumping in. You can't win unless you get in. So it's certain definite failure if you don't get it. One of my mentors, what he said to me was, do big things, do big stuff that even if you don't achieve your goal, you would have achieved much more than another person who's doing 100% on their small goal.
Yeah.
So set the bar so high that if you reach here and not up here, your here is so much success that you're winning. So it's not always 100% because it's 100% of what? It's 5% of what, right? 100% of the small is really not much. 5% of huge is a lot. So when you set these goals, set them huge and go after them. And it almost doesn't matter if you fail because you're growing, you're learning. And it's through these attempts and whatever you're doing that you're prepared to take on the next thing, right? So I think we will take a break. I think, can we play that Shella Top Star song on this break?
Shella.
Blessings from Jamaica. This is Shella Top Star. Tonight I will be performing one of my latest single entitled Far. Yeah. Now, this song is a reflection of my life. However, I believe that this song can also be a reflection of your life. Enjoy. Far me I come from, I me know where me I go. Far me I come from, I me know where me I go. Me see the aim, me I navigate to success. Working smart, no rest. Me I see the progress. Want to achieve, so me give it my best. Me I do my thing now, watch no one else. Some of them are still thought they were my friends. Smile with me, but I meet them against them. Want to set up my life and my journey end. You know me, I am far as a winner, me no know about failure. I feel make it big, I feel make it major. Stacking up the currency paper. Far me I come from, I me know where me I go. Far me I come from, I me know where me I go. My last me way now, cause me know where me I go. Far me I come from, I me know where me I go. Me know me I go, cause me know me I come from. Where me I come from, dark like dungeon. Some say me not go nowhere, that's my assumption. But mine not kill them, so them brain function. Far me I come from, and I turn back. Overcome my struggles, me no want it come back. Judas them a fight me, Mortal Kombat. Them full up of jealousy and Jaja no love that. You know me I aim for top star, God never fear no danger. Happy make it big, happy make it major. Stacking up the currency paper. Far me I come from, I me know where me I go. Far me I come from, I me know where me I go. Now last me way now, cause me know where me I go. Far me I come from, I me know where me I go. Learn a lot along the way. Sorry if you mark a dog, them bite anyways. Me know the pain me get betrayed. Me conquer emotion, use a split and pave the way. Calm me mind and relax. Me nah go worry, I guide nah fear. Them set the goods, we set the date and the chops. Trying to get me in a trouble with the cops still. You know me I am far, born as a winner, me don't know about failure. Have to make it big, have to make it major. Stacking up the currency paper. Far me I come from. Me know where me I go, and I tell you to me not last me way now. Cause me know where me I go. Far me I come from, and me know where me I go.
Far me I come from, I me know where me I go. Born as a winner, I don't know anything about failure. That's what he's saying. And it's not what we're talking about.
Yep.
We're all coming from somewhere. And look at where we are. Look at the conversation we're having. Talking about failure, but is it failure? We're growing, we're learning. And that's what he's singing about. So thought it was appropriate to play that song. Richard, you started to talk about mentoring. And in business, what an important thing, right? Mentoring. So I want to open up the conversation and talk a little bit about mentoring. So one, I know you're big on mentoring. You're big on it. So what do you want to say about mentoring and bring it to our guests, please?
Well, I'll always start off by saying I'm a product of mentorship. I would not be where I am today, the man, the understanding anything without the men and women who actually took the time to just really impart. So I think it's a valuable thing. And even Richard and Omar have already touched on this. Just about reaching back and pulling somebody along and educating them, just showing them the principles and tips and stuff like that. And I can just tell, when you talk about 19 keys and your mentors and stuff like that, how important is it to we're talking about mentorship, how important is it to, I think, be more intentional about reaching those and pulling them alongside? How important is it to you in your practice and everything that you do? Both Omar and Richard.
It's valuable. I would say a lot of people, they always, they probably think about being a part of, certain circles. They probably say, hey, I wish I could, I want to sit at the table with Jay-Z. I want to meet these people, Steve Harvey. But what you have to understand, there's a huge responsibility that come with that, right? And it's not just because of expectations of what you've been a mentee, right, of what your mentor is requiring out of you, but it's also you putting yourself in a position. And one thing I always emphasize on with my mentees and being a mentee myself with my mentor, 19 Keys, I always tell him since day one, when I shook his hand, I looked in his eyes, I said, I will and I can. And I told him, I respect your time. So every second I'm going to take into consideration because every second matters. I'm intentional with every move. So what I would say for anybody who's a mentee, always understand that your mentor does not have to take that time to teach you what they have learned over the course of their life. So just be intentional with everything that you do when you are a product of a mentee.
Right. And to piggyback off of you, myself as well, product of mentorship, I think we all are in some way, shape, or form, whether we realize it or not. And with mentorship, it doesn't necessarily, the way I look at it, it doesn't necessarily have to be this super formal thing. Anybody that you're spending time around, who you're reaching out for information, they could be your mentor without you guys even ever having that conversation, right? It's so important. And as a mentee, and like you said, everybody's time is valuable, right? As a mentee, I think the biggest compliment that you can give to your mentor is actually applying the knowledge that they're giving to you and letting them see that. And what that does, number one, you're applying that information in real time, and it's going to inspire that mentor to keep on pouring into you. They're going to say, wow, this is somebody who really wants to learn. And on the flip side of that, as you're going through that process and you're learning, you're building yourself to a point where you can start to pay it forward. When you get the opportunity to start mentoring somebody else, you have to take advantage of that. I mean, that's the greatest gift. Again, like we were talking about before, duty, that's where the duty starts. When you get those opportunities, you have to take full advantage. And even selfishly, one of the best ways to continue learning is to teach. So, it all goes hand in hand.
The teacher always seems to learn the most, right? It's so interesting, but so true.
Right?
Always seem to learn the most. So when one teach to learn, right? Yeah. So Xavier, we're talking about mentoring here, and it's a big thing, right?
Yeah.
It's huge. We're all product of some kind of mentoring, whether directly or indirectly. We're all influenced by the work of someone. even at a distance, you can be mentored, right? Even at a distance. So do you have any particular questions you would like to ask Omar or Richard specific to mentoring?
I'd like to ask, what was like the best advice you've gotten from a mentor, whether that was indirect, direct, or so?
Frankly, that's a tough question to completely package, because I've gotten so much advice from a number of different mentors on a number of different things. Apart from just some verbal advice, and I don't want to sound like I'm dancing around your question here, but this is honest. Just watching how somebody conducts himself in business. I've learned a lot more from my mentors from just watching how they operate, opposed to just the words coming out of their mouth.
Right.
So with that being said, trying to put yourself in a position where you're around high performers constantly. You see how they speak, you see how they deal with their customers, you see how they handle problems, you see how they handle things that come up. Just visually watching how somebody that you admire conducts themselves in all facets of life, I think it's so valuable. And just the proximity to those kind of folks, I think can be more valuable than, any individual piece of advice that comes out of their mouth.
That's good stuff.
That's good.
I think Omar hit on the nail. There's nothing that you can do than watch and see the product of where that individual has come from. And you just apply it in your own way. That's what I would say. You're gonna add your own flavor always. So you take what you can and apply it and add your flavor to
it. One of the biggest tribute you can pay, to your mentor is to outperform him in what he taught you, and to do it better than he. A good mentor will be so happy, so proud when you do that. And in school they penalize you for copying, and they should. But in the real world, in the business world, guess what? To be a good copycat, just make sure that whatever you're copying is worth copying, right? And that's the observe and watching part of it. I recall a story. This gentleman, wealthy man, one of my mentors was telling a story, and I hope I get it right. His son would come to the farm to work, and he hired his dog. He had his nephew to work with him on the farm, right? But yet he would to milk the cows. But yet every time his nephew is going out there to do it, he would go out there as well, follow him. And then one day his nephew got so brave and said, "Uncle, why did you hire me? Why do you hire me if you're out here with me?" But the whole thing was, how do you make sure that the water is getting to the end of the rope? So you get it? So the uncle said, "You watch me, I watch you, and when you're proficient, I leave you alone."
Yeah.
The uncle would make sure he got in and watch him to make sure he's doing it right. And when he felt comfortable enough that he got it, only then would he walk away. So that's the importance of observing and paying attention, watching, and science, right?
Real.
Doing the work and the one who's supervising the work, you make sure that you have it under control all the way. So mentoring is a big, big, big deal. Augusta, what do you want to say about mentoring? I know you're big in mentoring as well.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I enjoy interceding and doing intervention work, to specifically for kids who look like me, who in that age might have been misled. But I like specifically the story you told and discussing of, the real, it's almost biblical, the real sign, show me the fruits. Like what fruits are you bearing? And, when I think mentorship, I'm a father. And so whenever I think of mentorship, I think of, from a parenting perspective always. And I think of my own father, contractor, locksmith, jack of all trades, master of all of them. And even in the story you described, Doc, I thought about, times where, we'd be we're working on the roof, we're installing the door, we're tearing the wall out, all these things that when I was a kid didn't want to do, but totally are so thankful that I sat back and learned. But him hovering over me at, 10 years old, I'm on this roof, 12 years old, I'm knocking this wall out. And I'm like, why is this old man hovering over me? And then realizing as I got older and became more proficient, that I'd be, well, man, Pops isn't, he's not hovering over me, he's not doing this. And even in the moment of you saying that, kind of that feeling of proud, the proud son moment of seeing this. And even now, I'll do work and other things and send it to him, and he's, man, son, you're doing a great job. So even seeing that, him hovering over me and backing up, and now being able to admire the things that I've done, not just work with my hands, but even as a parent, being like, I'm proud of you. Like that's the true sign. Getting that attaboy, that pat on the back from your mentor, knowing that you're at a place where they're like, I could step back and admire the work now because you have exceeded expectations. You've done a great job. So that got me in the feels right there, because I thought of the old man hovering over my shoulder, and then one day he just wasn't there. He was somewhere drinking a soda on the side of a house we were working on or something.
Or
but
whatever.
He trusted me. Yeah, he
Whatever
trusted me to do the work.
So that's the handoff, right? That's the handoff. That's when he can truly hand it off and say, I did my job. No, it's yours. Right. No, it's yours. No, Omar and Richard, I want you to put your advisor hat on, right? Think about those young males out there and females. This is the talk, men's talk, but voice of men, but it applies to everyone. So think about those individuals who are out there just struggling to figure it out. But they know they want to start up a business. They want to become entrepreneurs, but don't have a clue where to start. What advice do you have for them?
I think something that gave me the confidence to do a lot of this stuff I'm doing now is, earlier on, whether it be, late teens, early 20s, fresh out of college, when I had a lot of little side hustles going on, anything that I did, it could be the smallest silly side hustle, I decided to make a legitimate business out of it. That was like my playground, whether it be the personal training, even like I did a little landscaping business at one point. Anything that I decided to do, even if it was just to make a couple extra bucks, I did it the right way. And I used those small opportunities. Well, I used them as an opportunity to start really building a lot of my entrepreneurial skills. So by the time I did arrive at what I feel is my purpose, a lot of those fundamental learning curves that you have to get through, I had already did that just by practicing. So make some of those little side hustles, make it a playground for yourself to start flexing some of those entrepreneurial muscles. That was something that was super helpful for me early on.
Wow.
No, that's deep. I was actually going to go in a similar path. I was going to say, do everything the same way. And before going into any sort of entrepreneurship role or being a business owner or, being a YouTube creator, start with yourself. The biggest investment that you have to, for me, I don't know about everybody, I'm speaking for me. The biggest investment that I've ever made was in myself. Starting off with the little things, waking up in the morning, making sure my house was clean, putting my bed together, brushing my teeth, creating this consistent habit of doing things right, prayer in the morning, and walking and keeping my health, my psychological, my mental state, emotionally. You have to make sure that you are right, because something that I did on numerous of times, right? I thought I had something planned. I thought I did something right. I thought I had the biggest event coming up. I was going to have a great success. But the biggest problem in that was I thought that, right? And it's not about yourself. And I want people to understand that mentorship and entrepreneurship is about us as pupils, as vessels, being able to utilize our gift at the highest level in order to reach out to the people, in order for them to be better than us. So we have to invest in ourselves first and capitalize on that and be very intentional.
I love that. Just to piggyback off of you, Richard, self-exploration is such a huge part of this. And like I was mentioning with kind of making a playground and some of the earlier things that I was working on.
Yeah.
Those were the years where I really learned a lot about myself. You know, you learn what your emotional thresholds are. You learn how you react in certain situations. You start to see how, you start to see what some of your weaknesses, flaws are, because you suffocate them to come out by just diving in and starting to do this stuff. So when you do get a big opportunity, you already know yourself very, very well. So when some of those issues can pop up, okay, I know how I typically would react to this situation in the past. You're ahead of that roadblock. So giving yourself the opportunity to really learn yourself, you don't know until you know. So the earlier you can hop in and start doing some entrepreneurial stuff, I recommend it. It's only going to help you.
And that is so awesome, because what you're really doing is building your intuitive state. So when something pop up again, you've seen it before, right? So you can respond to it as opposed to react. And that's a big deal. Too often we're reacting as opposed to being responsive. And what you're doing right now will prepare you to be more responsive as opposed to reacting. You react to what you don't know anything about. You respond to what you know. And so big conversation here. So big that we're getting close to wrapping up. But what I want to do, I want to bring this panel back on for another show. I think we have so much that we didn't touch on. So I'm going to extend an invitation to Richard and to Omar to come back on so we can continue this conversation, because all the conversations that we have had in this platform is just awesome. But there's something about here to tell me this: we have unfinished business. Do you all agree?
Definitely.
100%. We'll hop back on.
I agree.
Yeah, so we're going to have you both back on. And we're getting to the point now where we're getting ready to wrap up. But before we wrap up, I want to talk about the commitment piece. And you would have heard us while you were backstage, Richard and Omar, when we talk about the one commitment we made to this panel and to our listeners, people watching. Is there any commitment that you have, Richard, personal to you, that's something personal that you're working on and is important to you? And the same thing, Omar. And if so, would you like to share it?
Of course, prayer. Prayer to me is probably one of the most important things, and I wanna really touch on this. If y'all don't mind, prayer to me is bigger than you just closing your eyes and you talking. You're not having a conversation with the sky. You're not having a conversation with the space around. You're having a conversation with the cosmos, the something that's astronomical. That's something that cannot be explained. We're talking about an infinite source connected to the source. And prayer, I believe, brings out manifestation. And when I say this, it's not from a biblical perspective, because people have different beliefs. I have a lot of family members and brothers who are Muslims, but it's more so being able to understand that you have to be able to control your inner self. And Dr. Stephenson, I heard you talk about it. Your inner self and this inner knowledge that you have. But when you pray, I receive wisdom, right? I'm speaking for myself. Knowledge can be learned and obtained through reading, through watching, right? Me and Xavier graduated from KCU. We've acquired a lot of knowledge. Cool. But wisdom comes from prayer and you truly understanding yourself. That's when you can truly tap into who you are and understand your full capacity of what you're calling. So I commit myself every day, Dr. Stephenson, to prayer.
That's awesome.
I love that, Richard. And I think we're aligned in a sense there. That's definitely been a huge commitment for myself, in the past year or so. My faith is something that I really put at the forefront of my life. Being on an entrepreneurial journey, I'm speaking for myself here. A lot of things were going right, a lot of things were clicking, but there was always that little feeling that there was just one missing piece there. And for me, it was my faith. It's something that I wholeheartedly really leaned back into. And I've noticed everything in my life change, personal, professional, so I can't speak enough on that there. If you have the opportunity, everybody does, to, lean into your faith, the return on it is infinite. And really going back to what we were talking about before, purpose, what drives us, right? We're talking about a lot of our earthly purposes, However, you know, your faith, the man upstairs, I mean, that supersedes everything. So having that at the forefront of everything you're doing, I mean, it's a power. You're a force to be reckoned with once you're in line.
Someone said amen to that. So I had to bring that up there. You know, I want to take this opportunity to share with the panel that we're going to Kenya in September 12th. And I would be so blown away if this group here would come to Kenya with us. I don't know how possible that would be, because that would be huge. You talk about making a difference and mentoring and helping to shape lives over there. If a group with young men, powerful minds, if you could come to Kenya and any one of the trips that we take over there, and I think what a difference you would make. What a huge difference. So I'm putting it out there. I'm also putting it out there that I'm the president of a nonprofit organization, Global Humanity Network, and we're in the process of building out our Mentoring Matters program. So we're looking for mentors and looking for mentors just like you. Just like you. So if you want to know more information, and also talking to our, to folks listening to us, also we're looking for mentees as well. So refer a mentee, refer mentors. Check out what we do at Global Humanity Network. You can get more information from me, from Augusta, and would love to have you, join us in these two initiatives that I'm involved with, because I know what a huge difference you'd be. Like I said earlier, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good with conversations like this, with panel like this. We're gonna be all right. We're good to go. We're good to go. So that's it. That's it. So let's do what we call closing arguments. Who's gonna go first?
I can do it.
All right.
I'll say this now. This year I've been trying to do things I wouldn't normally do. I was at a conference. I walked into one of the sessions. It was full. I normally sit in the back. I want to sit in the front. I actually walked all the way up to the front and sat on the first row on the end. You don't understand how much stress and anxiety I was under, because when I was in school, I sat in the back, but I walked up because I'm doing something different. I want life to look like different. So I'm trying different practices, and it was exhilarating and nerve-wracking at the same time. But anyway, so I said I'm going first. So I've decided to jump out there and go first. I'll say this, that I love how both of them, they said that it's not enough to just watch your mentor. It's not enough to just watch from a distance or up close. Like you have to apply it. You can take notes, you can spend time, you can listen, even when it comes to, you having a mentor from a distance. I have a couple of them, you're watching them, you listen to them, you play it on your streaming platform, whatever it is. But the true sign of you getting it and then making the impact is you applying it. So I like it. So it's not enough to just take notes, y'all. If you are a mentee, you have a mentor, you got to apply what, they're putting in time, so make sure that you make their time worthwhile by applying those tips and principles. I like how both of them touched on that.
Love it. I'll go next. I'll make it quick. Whether you be a mentor or mentee, as the brother spoke, the importance of time. Never forget, today is the only today you will get. You have opportunities for tomorrow if it comes, but today is the only today that you were going to get. You will never get March 14th, 2024 ever again. So maximize your today.
It's powerful. Do everything with a reason. Yeah, that's how I would sum that up. But I'm so grateful for both of you guys to come on today and shed all your wisdom. Personally, I'm so proud of you, Preach, or Richard Carroll.
Love you, bro.
I was so proud of you, bro, to see all your success, man. Just coming out of Grayson, Kentucky, and doing all your stuff, man. We've had some rough days, man, in the past, but just seeing all your success and Bro, I'm just proud of you. I'm awestruck. We got to stay in touch though, for real.
No, we like that, man. I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, no, just closing remarks, a lot of the same things I've touched on already, but never stop reaching up, never stop trying to develop yourself, learn, seek the mentorship. Again, doesn't have to be formal, and also in the reverse too, never miss any opportunity you do get to be a mentor to someone. Again, doesn't have to be informal. It could be a 30-second conversation on the grocery line or walking out of the office when you're seeing somebody new.
Yep.
That 30 seconds that you stop and give them, you don't realize that could be the most impactful 30 seconds in their career. It could just be one little thing that you hit on that day that changed that person's life forever. So don't overlook those small opportunities for mentorship.
I would say always be authentic and be yourself, and always have the top confidence. I don't care where you are. I don't care who says you cocky. Have all the confidence in the world. And I will always say, live by these terms: visionary manifest dreams. Anyone is able to envision their future while manifesting every step in order to turn your dreams into reality. And when you be yourself and you be authentic, there's nothing in the world. When you know you're giving your best, anybody can say.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Preach.
Xavier, you want to go again? Xavier, you want to go again?
Hey, I do want to say something. I do want to say something about Xavier. I want y'all to understand something. Like, in college is different, and I want y'all to know the city that we was in. He can tell you it was in the middle of nowhere, like the middle of nowhere. And it's a lot of people who were exposed to multiple things. But what I can truly say, Xavier, something that we did separate ourselves from just everybody. We stayed in the word, man. And X, bro, I'm proud of you. I see what you're doing. You pleasant. See you and your girl, wife. I'm proud of you, bro. Man. Like, keep doing what you're doing. But this is a prime example of being selfless. He's a representation of that, being able to reach out to me, and we stand in connection, keeping that brotherhood. And now we strive to change the world together as a collective. I think that's beautiful, man. This is a prime example right now. With you, Dr. Stephenson, as well, with your nephew on the call. It's just a beautiful thing. It's family. We building together.
Much love, bro. Much love.
Wow. I'm up next. Well,
Yes.
First, let me say thank you. My co-hosts for coming on every single week, making the commitment, and on for hours, and during the week preparing for the show. That's a big deal, and I really and truly appreciate that. I want to say thank you to our producer doing her work backstage, Donna. That's a big deal. I really appreciate that. To Omar and to Richard, man, you knocked it out the park.
Yes.
You offer such valuable information. I'm inspired. You've motivated me today. You've inspired me, and so much that I know you need to come back on because we have so much more to talk.
We'll be back.
You'll be back? All right. I love that. I have to chase him to get him to come on. You see how quick he said he'll be back? Well, that's a good sign, right? That's a good sign. And Richard, appreciate you coming on. I know Xavier been telling me, when can Richard come on? When can Richard come on? He's been saying that to me. But you came on at the right time with Omar. You guys complemented each other so well. And so just want to say thank you. I'm going to ask you to just stay, when we go off, just stay backstage for a couple of minutes so we can have a quick conversation. But I just want to close out and say something about growth, right? And that is so important because that's what we're talking about. Growth is an integral part of the human experience. Just like a tree that needs to shed its leaves to grow new ones, we too need to let go of old patterns, thoughts, and behaviors that no longer serve us. This shedding process can be challenging. It requires courage, resilience, and an unwavering belief in our ability to change. But I want you to remember, every great transformation begins with a simple step forward towards self-reflection, towards growth. So I just want to leave that with our audience and with us, because we are all about that growth. We're all about change. We're all about getting rid of those things that are no longer serving us. And I think the sooner we recognize those things and get rid of them, the sooner we make room for the things that will serve us. So that is what I want to leave us with. All right. So to our listeners out there, we appreciate you joining us. We appreciate your comments, and we appreciate you keep coming on every week. And we ask that you share the stream, whether it's live or on the replay, because this information, we don't want to contain it and keep it to ourselves. We want to perform an act in a river state, not a state, a lake state. In other words, we want to be that river that is flowing and depositing information along the way. All right. So again, thank you. And until next time, blessings always. So let's take
A collision with purpose. In pursuit of purpose.